Let me first say that I am one of a number of, as we like to call ourselves, radical Christian theologians. Indeed, in part, I should not use the word Christian, since as Death of God theologians, we've now been joined by a distinguished Jewish theologian, Dr. Richard Rubenstein, who spoke from this chapel not long ago. But I speak not for myself so much, I don't think, but rather for a movement which I believe is gaining power and momentum in Christian theological circles today. And I would like to emphasize that for us, the primary words, God is dead, are words recording a confession of faith. Let me be strict in emphasizing that at least so far as our intention is concerned, we intend to be speaking in faith. Not to be speaking as unbelievers, not to be speaking as those who would call the church to an abandonment of everything that it once believed or to an abandonment of its primal faith, but rather are attempting to speak in the context of a new movement of faith, a radical movement of faith, a movement which attempts on the one hand to return to the primal ground of the Christian faith, and on the other hand intends to give expression to that ground in terms of the context of contemporary history and reality. Now, the words, God is dead, or the death of God, are, of course, of fundamental importance here. And I think that if any attention at all is given to these words, it will be seen that this is not ordinary atheism. Because the ordinary atheist, of course, does not believe in God, does not believe that there is now or ever has been a God. Whereas we are attempting to say that God himself is God, and yet has died as God in Jesus Christ as a means of embodying himself redemptively in the world. And in saying that God is dead, we're attempting to say that the transcendent ground, the ultimate, final ground of world life existence, has died in such a way as to embody himself redemptively in Christ, has died to make possible a final reconciliation of himself with the world. So that indeed the word death here is of extreme importance. I would like to ask you to remember, since we're so wont to forget it, that in one sense at least, Christianity has always been grounded in a faith in the death of God. That is to say, insofar as Christianity in its orthodox and normative expressions has affirmed that Jesus Christ is fully God and fully man, while at the same time affirming that Christ has died and has died redemptively for man. It certainly has affirmed, if only implicitly, that God has died in Christ. And this indeed is the strand, shall we say, of the Christian faith which we are attempting to reappropriate and to make real in the context of the modern world. Now, what can it mean to say that God has died in Christ? One of our favorite words is the Greek word kenosis, which in some sense has to do with an emptying process or a self-emptying process. Now, it's true that we use this word in a way which is not strictly speaking biblical or scriptural, but which merely has a ground in Paul's letter to the Philippians, but which we believe indeed is indeed the implicit ground of the original Christian proclamation. And we're attempting to say that in Christ, God himself, the sovereign, transcendent Lord, the source and ground of all that is, has emptied himself of his own original plenitude, of his own original transcendent sovereignty, glory, and transcendence, has taken upon himself the form of a servant, has become man in Jesus Christ, and become man in such a way to effect an ultimate and final transformation and transfiguration of all things whatsoever. We repudiate the idea that God became man in Christ and then in some sense annulled his humanity by returning to a spiritual realm, and insist instead that the incarnation
Sample complete. Ready to continue?